What's your reaction to Ray's resignation?
We look forward to a very smooth transition at the FBI, and I'll be ready to go on day one.
All right, he is the president's choice to head the FBI on the same day that Christopher Wray is saying, I'm leaving the FBI. Senator Markwayne Mullin on what he makes of Kash Patel, the president's choice to do that. Senator, always great having you. You've had a chance to meet him. You know him pretty well. What do you think?
I've known Kash for a little while, since my time in the House Intel. I think he's perfect. You've got to remember, this is a guy that exposed the FBI for weaponizing against President Trump. He's the one that brought forth the complaint about the Russian hoax, about the collusion, about the dossier report. He also exposed the fact that Hunter Biden's laptop was actually being protected by the FBI underneath Director Wray's direction. And so I believe that Kash is the perfect person that's going to be able to clean house at the FBI on the 7th floor of the Hoover building and put it back to mission focus. Now, mind you, there's a difference between the guys on the 7th floor versus the guys in the field every day that's actually watching over the American people and keeping us safe. And that's where it needs to be reformed, is on the 7th floor. And that's where Kash will be focusing. And I'm happy that the Director Wray stepped down, so we don't have to deal with that. We can just focus on moving forward.
You know, do you ever worry, Senator, that Donald Trump might go tit for tat if he claims that the FBI was weaponized to go after him and people close to him, that he's weaponizing the FBI to do the exact same thing to the other guys?
No, and people bring this up, Neil, which is a fair question, right? But he didn't do that when he was in office in 2017, when he was the 45th president. So all you have to do is look back the way that he utilized the FBI, the way he handled this situation. He never went after Clinton, even though they had weaponized themselves against him. You've got to remember, they tried to impeach him from day one. They constantly were saying he was it was a Russian collusion, and was saying that he was compromised, using the whole thing about Ukraine. Right. He never once weaponized one single agency, not the DOJ, the IRS, or anybody else.
Didn't the FBI's behavior pick up steam and really bother him as it went on, as his years went on, and of course later on with the raid on his home and everything else?
Of course.
That now that sticks in his craw, and that's why, as critics say, he's on a vendetta tour. Do you think he is?
I don't believe so. I think you have to believe what he's going to do. He's going to restore these agencies back to working for America, not working for the party. Right now these agencies have been weaponized.
He's going to be working for America and not himself?
Because he did as a 45th president. He's going to continue to do so. He loves this country. He sacrificed so much for this country. And someone that sacrifices this much to serve as president of the United States is going to also take care of it. That's why the American people believed him. That's why the popular vote, he got more popular votes than what we had since Reagan on his second election. He got more electoral votes than anyone since Reagan on his second election. Because the American people want change. And President Trump's a person that's going to offer that change.
So you're very hopeful about that. The reason why I mentioned it is there's some around him, not the president-elect himself, I should caution, who want to throw a lot of the January 6th committee members in jail. When you hear that, and I want to stress, this is not coming from Donald Trump, but those around him, does that concern you?
Well, it's not coming from President Trump, like you said. He's going to be the president. He's going to be the commander in chief, and he'll be running the policies, regardless of what other people say. Now, will there be an investigation on criminal activity? I would say the House will probably take a lead on that. Are we going to be looking to trump up charges against individuals? No, but we are willing to hold people accountable. Those that abuse their power in a position of power, and they lied under oath, and they falsified documentations, they should be held accountable, because no one's above the law.
So those January 6th committee members, are you referring to them, that some of them might have done that and that they should be targeted?
I'm not referring to anyone in specific terms. I'm just referring to as a whole. If there was an investigation on anything, it would be to hold people accountable, not to go on some witch hunt like the Democrat Party did underneath Biden's administration.
Now, I get what you're saying, Senator. I don't mean to belabor the point, but holding people accountable sometimes sounds to me like going on a revenge tour.
No, absolutely not. That's not what the Republican people are wanting to do. We're not going to look back. That's not what our goal is. We're looking forward. We need to turn the page and shut it.
Are you absolutely sure he concurs with that?
Yeah, yes, I do. President Trump is for America. He's for making America great again. That's what he campaigned on, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to move forward and make America work for the American people again. But at the same time, these bureaucrats and these individuals that abuse their power, they do need to be held accountable if they broke the law.
Okay, we'll see what happens. Senator, always good seeing you. I don't get a chance to talk to you again. I hope you have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Neil.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.